Greetings, everyone. Let me say peace, love, light to you all, and welcome. Welcome to everyone that is going to be joining, to everyone that will be watching. Say peace and light to you all. Hope all is well with you, your loved ones, and your everyday life. I know the times that we are in is very stressful. We have a lot of stuff hitting us from all different angles, coming in all directions. Supposed mass shootings, on the brink of war, COVID, supposed climate change, right? And censorship of information to give you full disclosure, informed consent, or to hear both or three sides to the stories that are out there so that you can make a, a decision on your own, free will decision of your own, right? Give me a second, family. I have an article that I want to share with you, and it's from the FDA, right? It's from the FDA. And I was having a conversation early this morning with a friend, and she was like, if anyone hasn't noticed that the pattern of how the information is being um, given out and censored, the control of the information, and how they're dictating it is just like when they were doing the syphilis and Tuskegee experiments on what they call black people, and also um, when they were pushing the HIV pandemic information, and when they were pushing all these experimental drugs, and how it didn't come out until about 30 years later that HIV AIDS was something created in a laboratory as something that was supposed to be a weapon of warfare against Iraq and countries of the Middle East, biological warfare. And it's it's in our faces, people, right? There's so many articles out there, so many things being reported, and you ask yourself, why is the mainstream media only reporting, oh, fake news? This is fake news that people are saying that the vaccine don't work and so on and so. And if it's not about that, it's safe. Yes, it's safe. Go ahead, go take it. It's safe. But no one could tell you that it's safe until they release the data. And here is the FDA. Yeah, the FDA is asking the courts to give them 55 years to release the COVID data on the vaccines. Did you hear me? That's the link that's in the chat right now. 55 years to release this information. Last year, I said this to folks. I said, hey, the time you realize that this is fake and all they did was just used you as a guinea pig, like what they've always been doing every 30 to 50 years when they're doing resets, okay? They genocide a lot of people. And what this does, it makes them come in and are able to buy up your lands because you no longer exist. And it has to be the natural stewards of the land, the First Nation people. And then the second people, the second wave that came in that say colonized the First Nations people. And they're now the stewards of the land. They now come in, this is big corporation. You understand? And it's not that they're putting a gun to your head. No, they just psychologically programmed you throughout these television shows, these movies. And some of these movies are also warning. As much as they're programming, they're also warnings. And no one heeded it. Then they have these science conferences, platforms like TED Talks, stuff like that, where these scientists literally come out and tell you what their plans are on what they plan on doing in the next couple of years. And then boom, that time comes and they're doing it. And here you are running around like a chicken with your head cut off, saying pandemic, pandemic, pandemic. And the numbers don't add up. Something that is a 99.9% survival rate is not a pandemic. Period. And here you have the FDA. Now, 2 hours ago, I got a notification from YouTube that they're still going through the main channel that they've put on a week shutdown. And they're still deleting videos off of it. They just deleted 2 more videos off of the channel, telling me if I want to appeal it, but you never win those appeals, saying that it's medical misinformation. But these videos are literally of Governor Cuomo and Anthony Fauci talking. And what they're doing is getting rid of the evidence that showed that these people blatantly outright lied to you and keep changing their stories to fit the narrative, because what is coming is forced vaccinations. And then when the FDA gets this court to grant them to wait until 55 years before they release the data to you. So when they're saying, oh, trust, when Dr. Fauci's saying, trust the numbers, there is no numbers. They have no analytics. They have no numbers. Everything is being made up because this is a literally live and indirect right now on the field experiment. So they can't tell you to trust the numbers because they don't have the fucking numbers. The numbers have not come in yet. They can't tell you that it's safe because they have not vetted this thing. This is why majority of these vaccines are still on emergency authorization, not fully authorized, and even the one that's fully authorized. So here's this article. And I suggest that everyone download what is called the Smart News app, because they give you everything on here, the good, the bad, the ugly, and you can tell and see where people are twisting the articles also as well. There's another article, I got to try to find it back, the link back to that one, where they're telling you that the percentage of being infected is damn near equal with the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. And then they try to twist it in an article and saying, well, the numbers haven't really come in yet fully neither, so we're not really sure. That's bullshit. But if it was saying that the vaccinated was more likely to infect the unvaccinated in the rest of the world, they will tell you that it's accurate. Now, when I did the stream the other day and read off the entire list of all the companies that are partners with the CDC, and you saw that the major news stations are also partners with the CDC, all these testing and diagnostic facilities Moderna is partnered with the CDC. Pfizer is partnered with the CDC. Janssen and Janssen, Johnson and Johnson is partners with the CDC. Novavax, AstraZeneca are partners with the CDC. These are CDC companies that are telling you that they have a vaccine for you. A companies that the CDC claimed had no relations with them, but these are companies that are partners of the CDC. That is a major conflict of interest. Then if you look at the companies that those companies are under and the subsidiaries of those companies and what they have to do with mainstream media like CBS that runs commercials telling you that CBS is also funded by Pfizer. And people aren't asking questions. If you watch a Tylenol commercial right now, tells you the entire side effects that it does to you. You know all them little herpes commercial that they be having on TV, and they tell you, well, if you if you take this pill, side effects are kidney failure, heart failure, lung disease, so on and so. And they're going to tell you that there is no side effects. There is nothing wrong with a vaccine that they claim they created in 6 months. Some less than 6 months. No side effects. It's just completely safe. But here you have the FDA. Let's go. FDA asks court for 55 years to release full data on Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Pfizer. The FDA is asking a federal judge to give federal agency until the year 2076 to fully release its documents tied to the approval of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. You can't make this shit up. What? The Food and Drug Administration made the request as part of a filing Monday in response to the Freedom of Information Act lawsuit brought by a medical transparency group. Now, what did I tell you guys about FOIA? They have this also in Jamaica, but I think in Jamaica it's called the Information Freedom Act, something like that, right? Or Access to Information Act, right? Anyone off the streets could go and file and get these documentations. So why is the FDA trying to stall until 2076 when all these old fuckers like Fauci and Radfield, right? Cuomo and all these guys are done dead and gone, so they can't face criminal prosecution, the death penalty for genocide, locked up for perjury. Have they asked, get a red notice and shipped to Guantanamo or someplace like that to escape justice for all the medical malpractices that happen underneath their watch because of their false information and lies. 2076. Fauci's what, in his 60s? He probably got another, what, 20 years? 20 years of life left. Radfield, the same thing. Biden is already deteriorating because he got dementia. Right? So him is probably, what, 4 years for him? All these old fuckers. 2076 is when they want to release it. So if that's the case for the Pfizer, because I think the Pfizer was the one that they fully gave full authorization, right? They're going to do the same thing for the boosters. They're going to do the same thing for Moderna, Novavax, because all of these vaccines that they've approved are only companies that are partnered with the CDC. And any company that's not partnered with the CDC that has a treatment for what they call COVID, they tell you that it's not accepted and that it's not counted as fully vaccinated. Period. People, if you don't believe me about that, these companies being partnered with the CDC, all you got to do is go on the cdcfoundation.org or just type in subsidiaries of the CDC on Google, and two links will come up. One for the Securities Exchange Commission website, and the other one for the CDC foundation.org will come up with an entire list of CDC partners, over 100 names of mega corporations, and every single one that of the vaccines that they're trying to approve or telling you to go take that is safe. All those companies are on that list. All of them. You can't make this stuff up. So it says here, because this is going to be short. I'm not making this long, probably like 15 minutes, and then I'm out of here. I'm just going to read this, but I have a entire list of other articles that I'll go through later on today. But after I read this, I got a whole bunch of stuff that I have to do. But here we go. Let's start it back. The FDA is asking a federal judge to give the federal agency until the year 2076 to fully release its documents tied to the approval of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. The food and this is from just the news. All right, this is on the Smart News app. The Food and Drug Administration made the request as part of a filing Monday in response to the Freedom of Information Act lawsuit brought by a medical transparency group. When I told y'all that these folks are being sued from left to right by hundreds of thousands of people, stop listening to the mainstream media like the world is just, oh, whoa, whoa, going to go get the jab. People are not going to get this shit. Only dumb people are getting this shit. And people who are superficial in, oh, I just wanted to travel to Puerto Rico because the tickets were so cheap. So I just got the little jab. You know, it was nothing. Well, what you get in the long run from that jab over the years, you deserve it because you put your safety on the line for a trip to Puerto Rico. I hope it was worth it. A trip to Dubai, hope it was worth it. A trip to Italy, I hope it was worth it. But for those who got it because they were put in a position to where it's either the jab or feed your children, I understand. I get it. That's a rock in a hard place. But for those who got it for superficial shit, you deserve it. More power to you. Um, then it goes on to say the government informed the court that it has 329,000 pages of documents that apply to the FOIA request and suggested releasing 500 pages a month. That's bullshit. They have 329 pages. Release all 329,000 unredacted. Unredacted. Nothing should be blocked out. So even if there's one word blocked out with a black marker over it, that is very suspicious and suspect. Why are you blocking it out? Remember, you guys said that this was safe. 329,000 pages. Hmm? uh, okay, that the government informed the court that it has 329,000 pages of documents that apply to the FOIA request. And if anyone don't know what FOIA is, it's called the Freedom of Information Act. The FOIA request and suggests releasing 500 pages a month, a rate it believes would allow the redactions. Told you, of exempt material. I told you. They're stalling so that they can redact, so that they can redact the information that you need to see that they poisoned you. They gave you a genetic altering experiment. It's not a vaccine, it's a genome therapy. Something that shows that they've been doing this from since before you and I were born. Period. That they've both had not only the cures to the very same bioweapons that they created over the years, particular types of cancer, HIV, herpes, these things. That same cure is also used as a weapon to literally wipe out DNA strands, to create synthetic DNA strands back within the human body to make you an artificial property, and which coincides with the 2013 Supreme Court ruling, meaning that since you are now artificial and you have changed and altered what the Most High, the great creator of all, created you with, and you changed that, you are no longer a natural entity. So by law, underneath the Supreme Court ruling, which is case law, you have no rights. This thing was planned. And if you listen to the wording that they're using, natural infection, and then the Wuhan laboratory infection. So though the natural infection is a 99.99% survival rate, that means there's two different things out here. When they say natural, that literally means something coming literally from nature. You went into the bathroom, you took a shower, you washed your hair, you didn't fully dry it, you came outside in the cold weather, even if it was for 30 seconds, you reach back inside where your heat is on at full blast, boom, boom, boom. You start getting the sniffles, you're sneezing and you're coughing. That's natural. Okay? So when they say natural infections from an animal that was unaltered with, that was not genetically modified, that was not experimented upon. No rats, human cell tissue, and none of these things. Literally, you went into the woods. A deer probably sneezed on you. You touched the deer that was already sick with the common cold, because the common cold is what is called a coronavirus. That over the years, they've experimented with that common cold with other fungi, bacteria, these things out there, and supersized it, supered it up. And then you started getting particular type of cancers, particular type of different heart disease, lung disease. Okay, this is what they're calling gain of function research. This is why Ron Paul is on Fauci's neck, because when he said the NIH never and at all and at no times funded gain of function research, and then Ron Paul comes again with all the documentations that they redacted. He literally had a sheet of paper where every word was redacted except for the title of the goddamn thing, of the goddamn document in the email. And that's when the Senate committee started laughing. I was like, this is ridiculous. You gave the Senate committee redacted documentations and emails that we can't even read. We don't know what none of this stuff says. We want it unredacted. And they unredacted half of it and still left half redacted. Then the NIH came out and said, yes, we do gain of function research funded by the CDC, because the NIH is owned by the CDC. Now, what is gain of function? Meaning they created a virus in a laboratory to purposely infect humans. So they created it and infected you with the very same people that they're still pushing out there, saying these are their enemies in a Chinese Wuhan laboratory. And here's the FDA asking for 2076 to release all this information to you, because all these people will be dead and gone. There's no punishment to come down. Who are you going to punish? The people of 2076, it didn't happen in their time. It happened in our time. So what happens now is setting precedents for what's going to happen then. The enslavement of what we are allowing now the cutback on rights, the cutback on freedom to travel, the cutback on privacy. Your children and your descendants in 2076 won't have no privacy, no rights, whether you're tribal or whatever, because they're also pushing for the whole tribal exemptions and all these things to be taken. And if it doesn't happen today, they're going to continue pushing for it in the future. And this is why you see all these false flag shootings now, because they understand that they have to unarm you first, de-arm you, before that they could fully come with force upon you. And this is why the Kyle Rittenhouse case is so important, because that case is showing that that young man had a legal firearm, because there's no such thing as an illegal firearm. So in New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, and these things are clamping down on gun laws. And if your son or your daughter's driving around with a gun in their car in the glove box, and the police pull them over and unlawfully search their private property, their automobile, without a warrant, and they find the gun, and you have mayors like Bloomberg and Giuliani saying, hey, you get 1 year for each bullet in the gun and 2 years for each missing bullet in the gun. They have not proven that you committed any crime. And there is no such thing by the Constitution as an illegal firearm. This is why this case is so important. And you have Negroes running around talking about, oh, he's a white supremacist. He shot 3 white men. That was coming for him. That pulled their gun on him. And he shot back. He was brave enough to shoot back. Most Negroes would just sit there and be like, oh my God, oh, don't shoot me. Oh, I'm unarmed. That's the mentality of how we were programmed now in today's society. To bitch up first before we try to preserve our freedom and our life. Because we are the most targeted by gun patrol police, which is what the mayor of New York is trying to bring back. How many people? So the children of 2076 will have no freedom. None. You see the caste system that San Francisco is already creating? San Francisco, where Nancy Pelosi and her husband owns a boatload of real estate that they buy and sell. San Francisco that the Chinese bought unlawfully, because they can't own it. But hey, the original people of the land don't know that they're the original people of the land. So the Chinese claim eminent domain, paid the money to the United States Federal Corporation, and they sold it to San Francisco to the Chinese. San Francisco, which has multiple properties owned by Nancy Pelosi and her husband in real estate. San Francisco, that where Jeff Bezos set up that whole Amazon store that works straight electronic computers, no cashiers. But yet still they're telling you that there's a job shortage. But this store has no cashiers. That's a caste system being created. So you, the person that would usually go get a little cashier job, you can't even get that no more, because they have stores that operate without you actually being there. You're not needed. All of this connects. All of it connects. Because history, society is being rewritten before your eyes. It didn't just happen overnight. This is over 100 years in planning. And each generation that these people bring forth in their bloodline, they teach them to carry on the agenda. Why? Because of power, dominance. You understand? If you don't have power, if you can't come together as a community and have actual power, you can't make no difference, no change. That is why. You get it? So in this article here, where it's saying, give me 1 second, y'all. Yeah. So in this article here, the FDA article, where they want to wait until 2076 so that they can release 500 pages over. So 500 pages over time. That means they have more than 329,000 pages, 500 pages at a time when they choose of redacted information where you can't see what really took place. So you don't know what you're reading. So that's like when Fauci and Polanski's being questioned and they don't answer the questions, they talk around it. So you can't say they neither confirmed nor denied. Like when they asked Polanski, hey, you are now the head of the CDC. How many of your employees, what percentage of your employees have been vaccinated? And she's like, uh, well, when it comes to the vaccine, and they're like, well, we didn't ask that. We only asked you what percentage of your employees at the CDC are vaccinated. And she still goes around it, still going around it. You understand? Did not answer it. And they're like, do you not have the numbers when you walk down the aisles of the hallways of the CDC? How many empty offices do you see? And all she could say is, oh, we don't have the numbers right now, right here with me. We would have to go and look into that. But this is the head of the CDC that is on TV damn near every day saying that you should be mandated to be vaccinated. And she don't know the numbers. So then the Senate committee says, hey, right here so far is saying that 74% of your staff, 74% of your staff doesn't even work in the building anymore, and they're not vaccinated. So how do you, as the head of the CDC, don't have the numbers? Well, we do. How does that work? You understand? Let me put back the link again to this article in the chat. Let's see if it comes up. What's going on here? Come on. Oh, it's giving me a warm time. It's clicking on stuff that I'm not even clicking on. Oh, come on. Come on, stop playing with me. Okay, let's try it one more time. There we go. Every time I go to put the link in the chat, the whole screen moves. That's the link to that article, right? So it says here, okay, let me read back from here and go on down. The government informed the court that it has 329,000 pages of documents that apply to the FOIA request and suggests releasing 500 pages a month, a rate it believes would allow for the redactions of exempt material. Really, the proposed rate would mean the FDA would not fully release the records for their entirety for 55 years. So if you could wait 55 years to release the information, the full information, unredacted, why can't you do it now? Why can't you do it? Because those people are going to be dead and gone. That whole administration does not exist anymore. You understand? The people then that's going to be there then are weren't born in the 80s and the 90s. You see what I'm saying? And it goes, the plaintiff in the case, the public health and medical professionals of transparency. So these are doctors, lawyers, nurses who are suing them for this information. All right? These are doctors that are suing for them to release this information. Like I said, around the world, there are hundreds of thousands of doctors that have come together that are suing because they know that what they're putting out on the mainstream media is bullshit, they're lies. So, what this information would expose is that ABC, NBC, YouTube, Google, which owns YouTube, Alphabet, which owns Google, which owns YouTube, CNN, your doctors that denied you medical exemptions, your doctors that was telling you, oh, go get the shot. These people were complicit in making sure that you got jabbed up with poison in your system, knowing what the damages would be from it. Do you understand? For something that does not exist. When it comes out that it's just a common cold, and then they upgraded it to be a rotavirus, which is cancer. Cancer is a rotavirus. Uh, Certain symptoms of the flu are rotaviruses. Okay, hence this is why it's gain of function research. Okay, so you're in the time where you're realizing that damn near every sickness that you have was created in a laboratory by these people, literally created in a laboratory by these people. You understand? People before them, and it's going to continue happening with the folks after them. So it's saying the plaintiff in the case, the public health and medical professionals for transparency, filed a suit after the FDA denied its request to expedite the release of the records. So they're stalling. Why would you deny the request to release those records? By law, you're supposed to release it. It's the freedom of information. You're a public, you claim to be a public entity, so you have to release the information. That goes for police stations, that goes for anything that calls itself public servants. This is why Blasio, the New York mayor, was passing stuff to say that certain public information for public servants you can no longer acquire to have. Because did you know that if you need to put something on the record in the county clerk's office, you could send it to the home of the county clerk, certified mail it to them, and they've been served and they have to put it on the record. They have to go and put your documentation on the record. This is why they started making where these folks live private now, but it's supposed to be public because they're public servants. They're supposed to be accessible to the public at all times. So you have until 12 midnight to knock on your public servant's door and speak with them. This is why they did the false rioting at the Capitol, so that they could say, oh, we can no longer allow people who are not working in the Capitol to come up there because it's a public building. You're supposed to have access to it at all times, anytime. Every time the Senate and the Congress is saying that they're going to convene for a meeting, you're supposed to be there. When they claim that they passed them bills and laws and stuff. When your mayor and your governor is giving public announcements, hearings, and these things, you're supposed to be there. But because of COVID, you can no longer go there. And because of the Capitol rioting, oh, we got to shut it down. You can't do it no more. This is so well planned because, again, slavery is coming back. And your children and your children's children. But a lot of people that I noticed from the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, you don't live for tomorrow. Your thing is, well, you've had a good life. But what about the lineage that you've already brought forth and their lineage? You see what I'm saying? But that's the mentality of the older generation. Well, I had a good life. So if I die tomorrow, I'm all right. What about your children, your grandchildren? What about your grandchildren's children, your great grands? Anyway, it says the FDA and the Transparency Group have not been able to reach an agreement. There's no agreement to be reached more than just release the documents. That's it. Do not compromise with these people because when you compromise, you didn't win nothing. The FDA and the Transparency Group have not been able to reach an agreement on a disclosure, so are seeking a hearing before a judge to argue the case. The FDA's promise of transparency is, to put it mildly, a pile of illusions, wrote an attorney, Aaron Siri, whose firm is representing PHMPT. It took the FDA precisely 108 days from when Pfizer started producing the records for licensure to when the FDA licensed the Pfizer vaccine. He continued, taking the FDA at its word, it conducted an intense, robust, thorough, and complete review and analysis of those documents in order to assure that the Pfizer vaccine was safe, because they did not do that. That's why it went so quick for them to approve it, and effective for licensure. While it can conduct that intense review of Pfizer documents in 108 days, it now asks for over 2,000, no, it now asks for over 20,000 days to make these documents available to the public. So it took them 108 days to make their decision and to get the documents to go through for Pfizer to be approved. But now they're asking for 20,000 days before you can at least get 500 pages out of a 329,000 page document. Hmm? For Pfizer. At least one of the companies involved in the Pfizer vaccine trials said earlier this month that it is investigating potential issues that were brought to light by a whistleblower. Now, remember I told you about the Pfizer whistleblower, and they have multiple videos of Pfizer employees telling you don't get that shit. You get it, you get it at your own risk, and what it's doing to the babies and what they plan to come after the babies, the toddlers, the newborns to be vaccinated, and the risk that it caused pregnant females who are pregnant and also females who are trying to get pregnant. These are the videos that YouTube has been taking down. The Pfizer employees themselves have come out and spoken. Some of them on hidden camera, when they realized they was being filmed, they started running and getting chased by the person filming them. And none of these people who did this filming has been sued or locked up. You know why? Because the people that they were talking to actually did work for Pfizer. So it's not defamation of character. It's not falsehood. It's like when Judy Mikovits published three books about this before it even happened. 3 books, and called Robert Radfield and Fauci's name for stealing materials, work, these things, claiming that they done this and that for stuff that they never did, and this is how they made it to their high positions. That they worked on creating viruses together in Fort Detrick's and all these different things. This woman has not been sued for defamation of character yet. What they did was they locked her up for 5 years without convicting her of anything. And then just out the blue released her. And she did her books, and no one has come after her. So if she was lying, they would not have hesitated to shut her down. That's Judy Mikovits. Okay, it says here now, at least one of the companies involved. Okay, back to the whistleblower. At least one of the companies involved in the Pfizer vaccine trial said earlier this month that it is investigating potential issues that were brought to light by a whistleblower. They knew this. The whistleblower, Brooke Jackson, told a British medical journal that the Pfizer trial ran by Ventavia research group was plagued with issues that included the falsification of data. Now, that's a video that they just took down from me from YouTube, where a medical facility in Florida was stating that how these other medical facilities have been falsifying the information. But this is what happens when your government are giving the hospitals incentives for each. Remember, Senator John Jensen, for the Minnesota senator, came out and said, hey, what they're doing for each person that the doctor admits that to having COVID, they are giving them the hospitals are getting $15,000 a head, right? For each person that they diagnose with COVID, for each person that they admit, the hospitals are getting $30,000 a head. Now, could you imagine how much a private doctor in a private practice is getting paid a head? So when people are trying to tell you, no, these doctors aren't, there are corrupt people in this world that are in and out of uniform. It's just life. It is life. You understand? And what a lot of folks are learning now that is they could have had a doctor for a lifetime. You and your doctor could have built an excellent relationship. But once I say, okay, take this document to them, this this medical exemption document that they're supposed to also give you full disclosure so you can have informed consent and see if they'll sign it. And I said, most of these doctors, they will never sign it. And you know what started happening with people that were saying, no, my doctor ain't like that. The doctor said, hey, I can't sign that. I was told not to give you medical exemption. And then some doctors are saying, oh, yeah, you're going to have to go to an expert, a specialist. You're going to have to go to a specialist before you can get medical exemption signed off on. A specialist, but that's your doctor. Why? Because chances are the facility that you've been going to is partners with the CDC. So they've been telling them to deny you this shit. Yo, you can't make this stuff up, family. You can't make this stuff up. So, okay, so yeah, it says the Ventavia research group was plagued with issues that included falsification of data. That was it. That's the article. It's and the article is written by Sophie Mann, Sophiemann, and this is from Just the News. Okay, you can't make this stuff up. Can't. It's blatant in your face. In your face. There comes a time where people, you're going to have to wake up. It's wake up or die. Wake up or be enslaved. Wake up or get lost in the sauce. What is this? Let's see what this is here. This is Aaron Rodgers' alternative COVID treatment. Yeah, they're giving him a hard time because his alternative treatment is not none of the companies that is partners with the CDC. Uh, let's see, what is this here? This is what? Dr. Fauci just issued this urgent warning to vaccinated people. See, on Smart News, on the Smart News app, there's so many articles on here. Okay. There's another article. Moderna booster dosage concerns prompt cancellation of Virginia Beach employee vaccine clinics. Like, and I'm just reading the titles to these articles. And now here goes right here. Anti-vaxxer in the Vatican. Embarrassment for Pope as Monsignor said COVID doesn't exist and jabs are satanic. The Monsignor is like one of the highest authorities of the Vatican. And even he's telling you this. Because when you break down the occult meaning of COVID, the numbers is going back into a whole bunch of demonology stuff. Right? This is why the CDC had the zombie apocalypse on their website, because zombie goes back even into the occult meaning and breakdown of the COVID and what it has to do with the astrological calendar of all the astrological events that has been taking place this year and last year. But they keep chemtrail in the sky, so you in the city you can't see it. You couldn't see that the northern lights literally hit majority portion of Northern America, New York, New Jersey, and the tri-state area, Chicago, these places. You didn't see that. And if you type in Northern Lights on the internet, on YouTube, you're going to see these beautiful array of light shows naturally given off by the celestial bodies. And it would only be shown somewhere in Alaska somewhere. And that it literally comes at particular times out of the years, right? Because again, the earth resets itself also. And the earth natural people feeds off of these things. And melanated people are the earth's natural people. Do you understand? This is why they keep saying the African American community is the hardest hit. And the African American community and Africa, and the Caribbean, the West Indies, these West Indians. And then here you see that the Cas9, the CRISPR system, the CRISPR technology is one of the hidden ingredients, the secret patent that's in their mRNA technology that is being headed by Jennifer Doudna. And she tells you that she can literally block the gene that makes you have your darker view skin before a baby's even born. And that's what they've been working on. When she came on TED Talks that has over 20 something million goddamn subscribers. And YouTube took that video down when I put it up. But it's still on TED Talks though. CRISPR Cas9 technology. Jennifer Doudna, TED Talks, YouTube it. These ain't conspiracies. It's right there in your face. It's in your face. What I'm going to start doing, I'm going to start reading these articles and dropping the links. I have over 200 so far links to these articles. A lot of these come from the Daily News site, the Daily News, the New York Post, the Chicago Tribune. So they're credited articles from credited sites. It just can't make it up. Now here we have another one here. Gates calls for new way of doing vaccine. Let's read this one. Let's read this one. Let me read this. This is my last one, and then we'll get up out of here. But I'm gonna redo this one again where I could add the I could put the link in the chat. And this again is from Just the News. And this is written by Nicholas Balassi, Balassi, Ballasy. Gates calls for new way of doing vaccines since they don't block transmission of COVID. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates has called for a new way of doing the vaccines against viruses. Let me also add it. I think Microsoft is also partners of the CDC. But anyway, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates has called for a new way of doing the vaccines against viruses like COVID-19, given that they do not block transmission, which is true. They've come out publicly and told you that even those who are vaccinated can still get infected. And then there's studies that shows that those who are vaccinated are highly probable to infect those who are unvaccinated. Okay. Anyway, Gates said the economy. Gates said the economic damage and death toll from COVID-19 was completely horrific. But who shut down the economy? Your mayors and your governors. They had all this information. They shut it down. Your prime ministers, curfews, no movement day. Huh? Who has all the ships still out there at sea with all the cargo containers stocked of food supply, water supply, gas, oil, all these things that you need? Why? Because again, they're trying to promote a shopping environment where they don't need workers in the building. They only need people to come at night to stack out the shelves and take their asses home. but they don't need workers during the day. Just look at the Amazon store. Okay. Gates expects. Remember, Bill Gates was the main orchestrator of this whole thing right here, right? He's the main orchestrator, or he's the poster boy, let's say. Gates expect the world's experience with COVID-19 to lead to a larger research and development budget, which is that $2 trillion budget that Joe Biden is trying to pass, right? Larger research and development budgets to better prepare for a future pandemic. You can never prepare for these things because when your government says, hey, shut down all the stores that are not our partners, Home Depot is a business partner of the CDC. So they weren't shut down. The family that owns Home Depot owns Lowe's. So Lowe's is not going to be shut down. You understand? Target is partners of the CDC. So Target wasn't shut down. These major companies, the top investors of the CDC owns Macy's. So they weren't going to be shut down. Passmark, not Passmark, Walmart, Costco are partners of the CDC. BJ's. But the local businesses, remember Governor Cuomo is threatening them? Oh, well, if you don't want to comply to the mandate and what is required, because remember, require and required literally means they're asking you. It's a lawful it's by law a question. It's not a demand of something that you have to do. It's a question put in a form where you think it's a demand. And anything that is demanded of you that is unlawful, it's illegal. Okay? And when Cuomo said, well, if you don't want to comply, we'll just send the city inspectors out to your place of business. And when they find something, we'll just shut you down. So he's letting them know they're going to make up something on you and we're going to shut you down. So you have to comply. Hence, businesses are telling you that you can't come in unless you're vaccinated and all these things. This is where this came from. You understand? Coercion, threat, and duress. They held your business captive, right? For those who are operating in commerce, they crippled you. They crippled you in commerce. So here it says Gates expect the world's experience with COVID-19 to lead to a larger research and development budgets to better prepare for a future pandemic. You know, we didn't have vaccines that block transmission. We got vaccines that help you with your health, but they only slightly reduce transmission. He said during a policy exchange discussion published on November 5th, we need a new way of doing the vaccines. We didn't get much in the way of therapeutics because of genome therapy, meaning that it literally rewrites and changes your genetics, your DNA. So if they want you to be gay, they'll rewrite your DNA for you to act more feminine. And this is what the scientist Tyrone Hayes, how many years ago, was telling you. Even showed you when the male frog started acting like a female and then started producing tadpoles after another male frog was riding it. You understand? Uh, and Gates said in 5 years he hopes to write a book titled "We Are Ready for the Next." They're already planning for the next wave, and that's going to be after this. After this one, this one is they give it till 2025, 2010, I believe. I think 2015 was the latest. Then they're going to go to um 2050. 2050 is when they're going to come with the next one. And then when the next one is going on, 2076 is when they're going to release all the information of this one, and you're going to see that it was all criminal acts that these people were doing for the sake of a reset of the stock market and business, and so that they could control the crypto market and all these different markets, and and shut down and use a blockchain technology to centralize everything so that they could tax everything and track you, your every movement. You can't make this stuff up. Again, folks, man, if you don't have the smart news app, I suggest you get it. I suggest you get it, right? Because it's this app is no joke. See, FDA's are authorizing all these things. Oh, so breaking news: House passes Biden's $2 trillion economic plan with Senate fate uncertain. So they passed it, and that's because of the I think the 15 Republicans that went along with the bill. And what was already shown and proved that these people didn't even read half that bill because it's like 2,000 pages. They didn't. They never read it. They just signed off on it and passed it. They never read it. Only a handful of people, like Ron DeSantis, which is why he blocked all mandates in Florida, mask and vaccine mandates, and they passed that into law, saying that all that shit is canceled in Florida. Can't force a person to wear a mask in a store no more. Can't force a person to get vaccinated before they could go in a restaurant. None of that shit. He was reading through that $2 trillion plan budget. In that $2 trillion plan, it says if you spend $28 a day, you are to be put on the government watch list. If you have $600 in your bank account, all of your spending transactions are to be tracked, and you're to be put on a watch list. All citizens of the United States Incorporated. That's that $2 trillion bill. Fundings goes back out to Israel. Fundings go out to Saudi Arabia. Fundings is going to China that they claim is their enemy. How many billions of dollars is going overseas to these places? I believe that's the same bill where they're going to give every undocumented immigrant that comes across the Mexican border 485 something $1,000 a family, undocumented. But they can't solve why there's no jobs here for people, or why there's so many people here now that don't have jobs. Improving on the school system, the education system, hmm? Ending poverty in some places. They can't solve these things, but they have the money to give millions of undocumented people $487,000 each family or person. Hmm? These people whom are also, yes, unvaccinated as well, right? But this is what Negroes get when they vote for a man based on because he serves a party, not knowing that that Democratic Party, they're the ones that created the KKK. They're the ones that voted against abolishing slavery. All of them during that time voted against abolishing slavery. The Democratic Party. There's no, you can't make this stuff up. So when you have Negroes that just go out there and blindly vote, my mother's one of them. My mother went ahead and voted when she's not supposed to even be voting. This has nothing to do with us. But people who are brainwashed to particular levels, right? Because this is a woman that's participated in politics even back in Jamaica. So these are people that love. You just have people out there that just loves politics. It's like it gives them a rush. It's exciting to them. They like to feel like they're involved in something bigger than themselves because they say, "This is my party. This is my party." And when you ask them simple questions, what have that party done for you? They can't tell you. What is the history of this man that you're voting for? He's a Democrat. That's fine. What is his political history? In his 40 something years as a politician, what has he done for people of your complexion? They can't say. When you go back on his old records, why is it that they have over 100 videos of him plagiarizing other folks' speeches? Where they have videos of him literally giving promises, and only till when he gets into positions of office, he breaks every promise his entire political career. So why are you surprised that he's doing it now? And even though he is screwing you over right now and pushing you into a corner of a caste system where you're going to be the ones on the bottom of the totem pole, and they're literally bringing in new faces to repopulate the Americas and push you out because they're expecting that all of you are going to go get this jab, and your lifespan is going to be shortened, and you're going to be difficult for you to have to produce a child during childbirth. So these folks here that are coming in unvaccinated, they're going to be taking your space. Your house is your land. You're not going to exist. This is what he's doing. That's why he's paying them to say, hey, for each undocumented person that comes across these borders, we're going to give you $400,000. You literally open the floodgates to tell people, come right the fuck on in. Come on in. Come on in. Hmm? Here's America. She's bent over, legs spread wide open and tied down. Come on in. Run right up in this shit. They got you bent over a barrel. Incentives, people. Just like what they've been doing to the hospitals, the Medicare system. For each person that you diagnose with COVID, the hospital gets 15,000. For each person that you admit with COVID, the hospital gets 30, 35,000. Some cases 45,000. Incentives. This is what they do with the policy offices. For each people you write a ticket, and for each people that you arrest, and overtime that you get, yeah, we give you this amount of overtime and extra bonus for each ticket or person that you arrest. If you arrest 50 people for the month, oh yeah, your bonus is going to look lovely. So if you're doing 2 to 3 arrests a week, yeah, or writing a quota of at least 50 tickets a week, yeah, you're going to get a nice bonus. Incentives, commission. So don't expect that they're going to come outright and do their job properly if they're being bribed to make these things happen. You understand? Anyway, y'all, get up out of here. I might do another one later on. For information on the COVID information, you could go on our podcast at Shatabi Media. That's XTABIMEDIA. Google it. It will come up. Pages will come up. It will come up when you Google it. All right. There you go on Shatabi Media. It's pronounced Shatabi Media. Right. That's XTABIMEDIA. With that being said, I'm going to drop The link again to the FDA article, and folks, you go look it up. Look it up yourselves. This is not misinformation. It's not something made up. They put it out there. It's something that they put out there. That's it. Peace, love, light to you all.